Why won't they tell us? It's the public money that's paying for it, and they will not tell us. Hi, it's me again, and yeah, a bit cross with the BBC today. What's new, really? But a little while ago, I stumbled across a headline, and it made me file a Freedom of Information request. So this is the headline that I saw. It was from the 3rd of November. It was a good few weeks ago now. Look at the headline. Simon Webb announced as the BBC's first head of orchestras and choirs. So not the most riveting headline, and it wouldn't have got a story on its own. I was just interested, right? Because if you didn't know, there was a Freedom of Information request in 2015, so it's a bit outdated now, but it does give you an idea, because the BBC have many orchestras. Now, I don't know how many people generally are in an orchestra, but I know when it says symphony or philharmonic or concert orchestra, it's probably a lot. This is the list of the orchestras the BBC maintains and pays for. BBC Symphony Orchestra, BBC Philharmonic Orchestra, BBC Concert Orchestra, BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra, BBC National Orchestra of Wales. And the total number of staff positions for musicians in these orchestras is 399, which is a lot. So they pay 399 people. These people are either salaried or on retainers or whatever. And the Freedom of Information request from back then wanted to know about pay grades and stuff like that. And the BBC refused. They refused to tell us. But I saw that headline, right? They finally got a man that's head of orchestras. So he's in charge of all those orchestras and the 399 probably plus now staff or musicians in the orchestra. So I filed this Freedom of Information request. Look. I see today on the BBC Media Centre website that you have appointed the first ever head of orchestras, Simon Webb. Can you please confirm his salary for the position? Now, I think that's a fair question. Do you not? I mean, the public are paying for that with their TV licence fees, the same way that they're paying for those 399 probably plus now musicians in all those orchestras that the BBC also maintains. It's of public interest to let us know how much you are paying that man to do that job that probably isn't needed, otherwise you would have had one years ago, right? This is the BBC's response to my question. We are withholding the information under section 402 Personal Information of the Act. Under this section, personal information about identifying living individuals is exempt if disclosure to a third party would breach one or more principles in the General Data Protection Regulation. So it's all right for you to tell us that he's now been appointed and doing this job, but you won't tell us how much of our money, not my money and hopefully not yours, you are paying him. How ridiculous is that? And as an example, right, because I don't know much about orchestras, it's not really my cup of tea, the whole orchestra thing, but a quick Google found how much it would cost to have an orchestra play for you. Have a look at this. So a rough guideline, you should expect the following: £150 to £250 per hour per person, 200 plus per hour for a conductor, up to £1,000 in administrative costs, music arrangement fees, transport costs, and in some cases tech requirements. So for a small 15-piece chamber orchestra, you could expect a quote from £2,500 to £4,000, whereas a full 50-piece symphony orchestra might be more in the region of £8,000 to £15,000. £8,000 to £15,000. Every time those orchestras play something for the BBC, that's pretty much going to be the bill that you are paying. And now they've got a man heading up those orchestras. Does this not seem a massive waste of money to you? The BBC are cutting local radio, causing people loads of aggravation. People are up in arms about the scrapping of many of the services on local radio. And yet, how many orchestras was it? Where was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 orchestras with nearly 400 probably plus now musicians, and a man who's head of those orchestras. And you've got to be thinking, I mean, let's have a guess what that man would earn, right? He's head of BBC orchestras and choirs. What do you reckon he would earn? 80 grand sound fair to you? Sounds about right to me. Does it not? I don't know how much these sort of things go for, but if a conductor is 200 quid an hour, you've got to be thinking this Simon Webb's on 80 grand, right? So they're cutting programmings. They're cutting radio. They're changing BBC News, but they're still paying all this money for orchestras and now a new head of orchestras. And that's okay. Is it? That's all right? You happy with that if you're a licence fee payer? If I actually paid the licence fee, I would be fuming, absolutely fuming with how they deal with people's money, because they have no respect for it. You won't see ITV or Channel 4 supporting 5 orchestras and having a head of orchestras. Do you know why? Because they have to make their own money, and they would never make the money back. would they? Through being commercial. How are you going to commercialise an orchestra to make the money back, to pay however much that was, like 8 to 15 grand a performance? You're not going to, are you? So they don't do it. BBC need to go commercial. It's absolutely ridiculous. They can spend their 3.7 billion quid plus that they get from the TV licence fees and not have to worry about what they're doing with it, because they know next year the same amount of money is coming back in. And the best way to deal with this, if you don't agree with it and you're a licence fee payer, is to cancel your telly licence. It's dead easy. And all you have to do is not watch anything as it's being broadcast or use BBC iPlayer. But you can use ITV Hub and all the other catch-up services and all of that without a problem, even YouTube. It's no big deal. Have a look on my channel. On the main page of my channel, the first video that plays is what you can watch without a telly licence. And it breaks it all down. Share it with as many people as you can, because there's no problem. You can own all the tellies you want without paying for the TV licence. It's based on what you use your tellies to do. And I'm about 10 years clear. And you look at some of the comments on this video, they'll tell you how many years trouble-free they've had not paying the TV licence fee. So this is, if this has agged you out, have a look at that. Have a look at that, honestly, because it's ridiculous, isn't it? Let me know what you think about this as well down in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, because that way, hopefully, I'll see you in another video again soon when I ta-da.